Michael Johnson once said, "The path that leads to success is long, tedious, and crooked." This is the story of Dickens Ngicho, born in Majengo, Nairobi County. Lost his parents when he was 12 years old, forced to relocate to the village in Oyugis. But he learned to swim in water that wanted to drown his dream. Take a look.
My name is Dickens Ngicho. I am a journalist. I work with Nation Media Groups and TV and Daily Nation. I am a passionate humanitarian reporter, social affairs reporter, and any journalism that aims to change the lives of people for the better. Dickens Ngicho was born in Majengo. Majengo is an estate in the eastern or in the eastland side of Nairobi City. On there to Pamela Ngicho and Pamela Olela Ngicho and my father Paul Ngicho. I have one sibling, Kevin Ngicho. I attended 9 primary schools. That's something about
Attending 9 primary schools, does it mean you are notable or what happened?
No, that's not really why I attended 9 primary school. I lost my folks at a very tender age. So, you know what comes with that. You now have to start living with your relatives. So I was brought up by several, relatives, uncles and aunts, and most of them, to be honest, most of them, and something I appreciated and acknowledged, that most of them were not well off. So there were people who were struggling, but even in their struggle, they were able to take care of us in their own small way, and and appreciate that so much. So the reason why, now let me answer the reason why I attended so many schools. So you see, uh, my mom died when I was in class 6. So actually, these many schools started coming. Attending these many schools started after my mom's demise, because I first lost my dad when I was in class 2, then my mom when I was in class 6. So we had to start now living with the relatives. So I'd go to an uncle of mine, attend, say, class 6. My mom died when I was in class 6, second term. So third term would be picked by an uncle, and then you stay with them for a term, and then because they have their own issue, they are taking care of their children, and it's not easy for them to continue also supporting you, because just like I said, most of them were not well off, or so you'd been picked by another uncle or aunt. You go stay with them for a year or a term, then another one comes. Maybe they talk and say, maybe it's now your turn. You can take care of the of
So
Dickens.
kind of you are a community child, eh?
Yes, man.
Yeah.
That's basically how it looked. So that's how I attended 9 primary schools. So by the time I was done, I was doing my KCPE. I had attended 9 primary school, but still, I appreciate none of them. I maybe just one, but most of them we were able to live well without any problems, and because my mom had trained me how to live as an orphan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then from the 9 primary schools, don't tell us you went to around 10 high schools.
No. This is now different. I
Which
sorry,
schools did you go to?
the primary schools.
High school.
I should tell you the school I went to and the school I was called to attend.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and I'm going to make you relate.
Okay.
While we were in Nairobi, in Majengo Estate. That's before my parents' death. We wanted to join only one particular high school when we were so young, but there's just this one national school which every kid from that neighborhood and the larger parts of Gikomba, those estates just where I had mentioned earlier, wanted to join. This is Tare Boys Center. This is a school in the neighborhood. And I remember when we were so young, in class 2, 3, we would sometimes see Alliance becoming number 1, and we are like, we don't even know what is being taught in high school, we had not known chemistry or biology and all that, but it would be so much manzi Alliance imeshinda stare bana aje bana inawezekanaje bana hii ni ujinga. So we always loved Stare Boys Center, and nowadays it's difficult to even find it in position 5 when results are out, KCSE results, and it breaks our hearts. But it's a good school that has produced several great people. So I wanted to join Stare Boys Center. Stare Boys Center is directly opposite my primary school, directly opposite Dr. Agri Primary School in Pumwani. But now, back to the school where I attended. When I went to the countryside and started going, attending so many schools, that would disorient me and make me lose concentration. And I always wanted to come back someday and attend Stare Boys, but that didn't come to pass because by the time I was doing my KCPE, I was called to join Agorosare High School. It's the best school in Homa Bay County.
Yeah, I've been to that school.
You've been there?
Yeah.
That's my maternal home, man. You didn't call me and let me know you're around.
Same away, yeah.
So Agorosare is the best school in Homa Bay County. Another school I was called to join is Obera Boys. It's also in the same county. But unfortunately, I joined neither of them. This is because my uncle, my good uncle Tom, was not able to pay the school fees in either of the schools. Because when I did my KCPE, I also have a cousin, my uncle's first son, who had also we did KCPE at the same time and the same school.
Yeah.
So we both passed. And my uncle did not have enough money to take us to the schools where we were called to join. So there's a school called New Hope Mixed Migua Secondary School in Oyugis. This school had just been begun. We were the pioneers. So I joined this school, and my aunt, my mom, I call her my mom because she's I think the woman who took my mother's part a great deal, arguably more than any other woman. This is my uncle's wife. So amongst us Luo, that's somebody you don't call your aunt. That's your mother. She took care of me from class 6 to high school, to college, that is, before I joined college. Now, I attended 2 colleges. So I'm a trained teacher.
No, you're coming to that part.
So I'm just letting you know, because my mom could be like, but this kid, he attended school when he was still here. College, that is.
Yeah.
So my aunt Rosemary, we took a motorbike and straight to campus, straight to high school from 1. So this is the only time I was able to use a vessel to travel from home to school, and it's the only time I was taken to a supermarket to pick a few things. So it's basically the only time I had pocket money to buy school stuff, personal effects. So we joined New Hope Migua Secondary School in Homa Bay. In Homa Bay, that is, it's specifically in Oyugis town. It's in the outskirts of Oyugis town. And we start our education journey. So here, it was a strange school because most of the students who had been admitted here came from very humble backgrounds or were orphans. So it was a boarding school, it was a mixed day and boarding. So because I came from a little far, about 30 kilometers from my place to this school, I came as a boarder in Form 1, and actually reported so late because this is another school where my uncle and my aunt were trying to help me secure a vacancy, but it didn't go through. So I came here. I came to that school on 28th of that year. On 28th February. So that was almost 2 months late because we were almost into March. And we started I started my high school journey. So the reason why I want to say this school was a funny one is most of us were boarders, but imagine we didn't have enough workers in school, teachers. We had very few teachers. So this meant that even most of the time it's students who would cook, breakfast, lunch. You'd be called from class, and
To come
another
and
friend
help.
to go. Was it really helping? Because it's just you guys cooking. It's not helping. You're doing it yourself. So, and you'd be so happy to be called to go to cook, because we didn't have enough food. And when you are called to go and cook in the kitchen, you know you're going to have enough. So, another thing, because it's a village school, it's in the outskirts of Yugis town, is the students who would be, most of the time, would go outside, out of the school compound, or even within the school compound, to look for traditional veggies and to split firewood, you see, and to cook and to go to the portion mill and have the maize ground. So it was a funny school, and you are not supposed, you should not suffer when you're old enough, because it will disorient you. But if you suffer as as a kid, you will not have known a different kind of life than this one. So you'll always think, maybe even at Stareoni, this is what students go through. So you don't have a different life to compare this with. And because you are somewhere where you don't have other friends who are having it great or nice than you. So I think it's if you have to suffer when you're young. It will harden you, it will prepare you for your life in the future. It will make you feel like this is how life is. So you will not even be stressed out to think about how life is difficult. Yes. So, about a bicycle from a classmate. He went and sold it. Went to his place in, there's a
So
place
by
called
that time,
Ruga.
you are still in Kuya.
Yeah?
You are still in Kuya, or after operating the portion mill, you
No, I'm
joined
telling
another
you.
school?
No, I didn't join.
Mm.
I didn't go back to high school. I'm just telling you. That's just a part I not shared with you, that I bought a bicycle to help me, when I
Move
was in
around.
second year. Yes, go back home, or come to school, and I stored it in the school store. So I take this bicycle. I had this bicycle when I was operating my uncle's posho mill.
Oh.
And I take the books that I had bought and go home. I went home to my uncle and told him that school had already been open 2 weeks. I'd gone, and then I told him, I have these books. You haven't spoken about how I'm supposed to go back to school. What's happening? Then my uncle tells me, Dickens, we had actually decided a long time ago that you'd go to a teacher's training college and not back to high school. So I told my uncle, I want to pursue journalism. I want to pass so well, get an A or a B plus, and join the University of Nairobi. Because if I go through parallel, you guys are not going to be able to pay. Then my uncle told me, it was funny because I think he was not looking at this. He didn't have a wide outlook of everything. So my uncle tells me, we don't have a relative at Radio Ramogi or Radio Lake Victoria, and all these vernacular who will hold your hands after you're done with your degree in journalism. Then I told my uncle, I don't want to work in, as in not being disrespectful, but I had a big outlook of what I wanted to do. So I told him, I want to work with NTV. I told him straight, flat out, that I want to work for NTV and then CNN. So my uncle tells me, if you want to pursue journalism, it will not happen that you'll be coming from my house to that journalism school. You probably going to live with another relative. That's not going to happen. You'll not be able to get job. So there's a word in Luo that says, "Atonga mayote miyombo." That means, literal meaning is, if the rains are almost falling, you go outside and save what is easy to save and put into the house. Don't try to struggle with something that you're not going to be able to save. So figuratively, that meant that at least I just decided to go to a teacher's training college and go and study and get that certificate that my uncle wanted me to get. So I went to Kamagambo Teachers Training College, which is in Rongo, now about should be about 20 kilometers from my hometown, Rangwe. And I joined the Teachers Training College, and here a lot of challenges I faced. And actually, there's the head of TTC, Mr. Kinuthia, among those lecturers who held my hand when I was in college, and paid about 38,000 of my school fees, because he asked me. I was helping him with the with making with planting seedlings and even preparing them to maturity and going to help him plant them. So you'd help with pocket money, and I wish it's been long since I talked to them and his wife. They were very great people in my life while I was still at Kamagama. They paid me 38,000. My fee was about 130,000. They paid for 38,000, and I've never even shared this with my uncle. So I finished college, and then they joined, and I went back home. I stayed there for 2 weeks, and I was like, this is not the kind of life I want to live. So I was in the village for 2 weeks. I decided to take my certificate, my application letters to schools in Oyugis, primary academies in Oyugis. So when I got there, it wasn't looking for, things were not looking up. So I stayed there for I was in Oyugis for I think 2 weeks. Now something happened when I went to Oyugis for those 2 weeks. My mother trained us in, there's a way she's trained us. My mother did not want any of our kids to be a burden to a friend, relatives, or all that. So when I went to Oyugis, I hid a sheet and some clothes so that my uncle and my aunt would not see, because I didn't want to go and just come back the same day. I wanted to go and look for something else to do. I was not even having, in the village, it's so difficult to even have 10 shillings to buy yourself airtime. So I decided to go to Oyugis, carried a sheet. Now when I got there, I left home at around 9 in the morning. Go to Oyugis around, it was a 5 hours walk. As a kid, maybe I was walking so slowly. But it's about 30, as I told you, it's about 33 kilometers from Oyugis, Rangwe to Oyugis. So I get to Oyugis, and I go to, it's late, about 3 p.m. in the evening, and I go to a hotel, because my plans were, I get to Oyugis, find a hotel at even 500 or 600 bob. So I get there, man, I'm starving. I don't have money, and it's evening, and I don't want to go to any of my relatives' place who are living in Oyugis. So I decided to sleep outside a hotel called Summit. It's one of the major hotels in Oyugis. But then I can't sleep, man. I'm starving. I didn't actually. I went and asked for work, but there wasn't a vacancy. So I decided to sleep outside the hotel's veranda. But now at around 3 a.m. in the morning, it was so cold. I decided to make laps, to just walk around the town as I buy time for the morning to come. Then I actually remember walking along just opposite, not opposite, just in front of Summit Hotel at around 3:30 a.m. I actually picked a maize cob that had been, a roasted maize cob that had been eaten by somebody, and as you know, the person did not clear all the seeds on it, and I ate it. And then I also found another banana that had been dropped. I think it was just a good banana, but it had dropped, and then it kind of broke kidogo. So those are the things I ate that particular day. So when the morning came, I went to a hotel called Royal Hotel. It's actually opposite Summit on another street. So it's on another street. I asked for work. They told me there was a vacancy. So I worked for a day. They gave me 100 bob. But the work was a lot. So I decided to, when they gave me this money, though I had eaten breakfast and lunch, but they were giving very little food. After they had paid me this 100 bob, I went to another hotel, a cheaper hotel, and then about 30 shillings. Tea for 10 shillings, and I think some snacks for 20 bob. At least I was full. I was fuller than how I was when I had breakfast or lunch there. So I decided to look for another place. But man, I was imagining I'm going to sleep again outside in the cold. So I decided, there's a distant uncle of mine that sells, he hawks sweets and all that. So I decided to go to his place and share with him. Told him, I am asking you to put me up for a week. And then, because I'd come to UGIS to send my applications to these academies, I told him I was just done with college the other day. So this is what I wanted to do, and I've always done this. When I stay with you, I spend very little time at your place. I only come after you guys have eaten. I just come to sleep. So I found a hotel that would now be paying me 130 bob, and they were not. They were afraid because most of the owners were young men, and it was a busy place, and they were jovial. It's a place that was, I think, conducive to work. So I started working there. Started working in there, and going back to that distant uncle of mine's place at around 11 p.m. in the night. And then I would be the first person to wake up. So I really had very few occasions when I ate there. And another thing, I was working at a hotel, so I was eating there. And didn't even use the bathroom to take a shower. There's a river called Aolo. Is it Aolo? There's a river just that passes in the outskirts of Oyugis from Kisi Islands. Ayoro. It's called Ayoro. So I would go there around 6, take a bath, wash my clothes. Sometimes hata bila sabuni. Because the guys were not paying you daily. They'd pay you for a week. But I just didn't want to bother anybody. So I worked there for about 2 weeks. And then I was like, this thing is becoming difficult. My uncle and my aunt have started calling me, asking me where I am. Told them I'm in Oyugis. So I had one last bullet. I said, let me go to, there's a school I saw called Bright Future. I went to my application letters there. Found the teacher. Then after dropping my letters, I left for home. Now, when I got home, I'm just getting home, and then the head teacher calls me, telling me, I think we liked your papers, and you can start to work next week. So I go to an uncle of mine, one of my eldest uncles in the village, called Uncle Odondi. Then Uncle Odondi, we had not interacted a lot because you remember we used to live with my parents in Nairobi, and I think he was in Garissa. He was a judiciary officer. So Uncle Odondi calls another uncle of mine who was living in Oyugis, tells him, he's called Uncle John. Hey, Dickens, there's a kid here, he's called Dickens, the son of Ngicho, one of our brothers here. He's coming. He didn't even ask that uncle if they can take me. He said, Dickens is coming. Please, you have to put him up you have to stay with him for as long as he'll be able to now start being able to stand on his own ground. So I go to Oyugis and start teaching at Bright Future. And I appreciate Mr. Okelo, who was my first employer. He was the head teacher of that particular academy. I was living with my younger cousin, who was a pupil at the school where I was teaching. And the fees for a pupil was 1,300 per month. So you were supposed to pay 3,900 per term. But because he was a kid, he was a teacher's cousin, they told me to only pay 1,000 bob per month. Then lunch was about 600 bob. He wasn't paying that. So from my 4,000 salary, the only amount that would get to me was 3,000. Then we were living in the teacher had asked me that we stay together. There was a 2-roomed house. It's 2-roomed, 2,500. So I was paying the bigger room 1,300. Then I was paying the other room 1,200. And I was living with my cousin. So Mr. Kello is a very good person who mentored me and took me as a younger brother. But then there's this day, fateful day, my Uncle Eric, comes home. Then we meet. I'm looking at him and he looks rich, and I'm like, I think I should follow this person to Nairobi. So after I think a month, I came to Nairobi, stayed with him for about a year while teaching at Tena Estate next to Donham. And so I became homeless. Because my aunt is.
So before that, when you came to Nairobi, then you joined the University of Nairobi.
That's the time now.
Yeah, when you came to stay with Uncle Eric.
Yes. Yeah. So I come back to Nairobi and then meet my uncle and then started living with my uncle. But then I think just after 1 year, my uncle's wife, my aunt, who supported me for almost 12 months, the day she told me they were going to a smaller house and I needed to look for somewhere else. This was on a Thursday. They were supposed to leave to vacate on Saturday. So I only had 2 days to look for somewhere else. But just like my mother has told me, don't be a burden to relatives. Don't go and live with people if they are not open to that. So I decided I had about 10 clothes. I didn't have a lot of clothes and my academic documents. I put them in one bag like
The
this.
gray ones.
It was black. It had faded, so it looked like it was gray. So I put my stuff there, my academic certificates and my clothes. Then I go to the school where I was teaching. It's a main house. It's a main house like this, and it has a ceiling. So I went there because I had the key.
So you mean
It's a school.
during the day you are teaching, and then in the evening you came to the University of
Yes,
Nairobi. You're
yes.
doing classes.
Yeah, so I'd just joined UN. I'd just joined UN. I think I was in my first semester. First 2-3 weeks into the having joined. So there's a school where I was teaching. It's a main house like this, and you know these mushrooming schools in Nairobi that are mushrooming each right, left, and center. So I have the key. I was the class chair for class 4. The class 4 had a classroom outside those bedrooms in that main street. So the class 4 structure had been built outside. I was the class teacher for class 4. It's a structure that I didn't even have windows. The windows had not been fixed, though the door was there. It was a wooden structure, and I was the class teacher. So I had the key to that class and even the main house that housed class 1 to 3, and then 4 was outside. So I bring my bag, throw it into the ceiling, and my uncle calls me, tells me we need to talk. So I go meet him and tells me that he just didn't want to have a lot of problems with the wife, and he had even asked me to go to stay with my cousins in Kayole. But I didn't want to go and live with another relative, because when I was coming to Nairobi, because Uncle Eric is the only maternal relative that I had kept in touch, I didn't want to go to any other. And I was free with him. He was even helping me paying school fees and all that. So I became homeless. And so basically in the evening I would be attending classes. Then I would come back. Most of the time I would walk back because I needed 70 bob to board a matatu from the CBD to Tena. But I needed only 10 shillings to board 4 travelers from Kayole from me in Donom to the CBD. So I was like, hey, how can I spend 70 bob? That's enough for that's enough for me to buy a meal for a day or two, because I only needed 20 shillings. And I also bought some sugar. I'd kept them in my drawer where I was teaching. But during lunchtime, as we would be serving kids lunch, I would put some food in a cup and close that cup and put it in my drawer. So when I come back in the evening, that's around 9-10 in the evening, I'll just go and munch that. And I had a condition. I had a stomach acidity then. But you see, most of the foods that are prepared in school are beans, kales, those which you are not supposed to eat well. Your stomach is acidic. So it was a bit of a struggle. So for almost 1 year before my foster family, my mom Pamela came and took me in. So there are just a lot of things that happened. And as my classmate, there's lecturers like Dr. Kamau Mubu, Kamau Mwangi, Salas also paid my school fees, and people like Dr. Lecturer, the youngest lecturer we had.
Kirimi.
Kilemi.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know one thing with you,
Kilemi used to drop me at home.
No, yeah, with a range.
With a range, bro. And after class, he would take me to Java.
Yeah, I remember.
He would take me and ask me to eat what I want to eat. These are teachers who saw potential and wanted to support me. Oriaso used to drop me. Kamau Mwangi paid 2 units for me. Moses Araya, he was like my father. That guy ensured I did all my exam even without paying school fees. But what I'd always had on my mind is that when I'll be graduating,
You will get the certificate.
you'll have to look for school fees and clear. Okay.
But
So-
that those days you never showed like you had any problem because I remember like you could come at my place, we
Yes.
talk, you go back.
I go and sleep in that classroom.
I never knew that, bro.
You see, I suffered when I was young. So this was not suffering. Being homeless was not suffering. So that's why I always say I think somebody should suffer when you're young, so that it prepares you for the for the future. Because sometimes, and when I went to stay with my foster family, sometimes my mom would prepare just rice and we have tea, and my sibling would not easily eat that. Mother, ni rice tu na chai. But to me, at our place, rice was only cooked on 2 occasions in a calendar year in 12 months. On 1st, on 25th, and on 1st. So it was always Christmas there. For me.
Literally like 2 times a year.
Twice.
A year.
Yes. So so basically that's how life has been. And always when I was at campus, I started positioning myself as an ambassador, NTV ambassador to the University of Nairobi, because I started getting involved with knowing broadcast journalists at Nation, the Masais, and
then I need Dr.
Kingori,
Kingori, because I
Rashid
remember that
Abdallah.
time you actually kind of running his YouTube channel or stuff.
Yes, I was his social media manager as a student. That's now, but you remember when I was this is how I became Kingori's social media manager. When I was in campus, I also worked with Google Kenya for a while. And I really thank Google Kenya for coming through Immobilis, mobile technology company, and helping me pay my school fees. So I had a digital background that enabled me become Dr. Kingori's social media manager. So when I started just positioning myself, going to Nation Center, meeting these guys, and then Dr. Kingori also having me on board to help him bring students as audience to his show, and then also taking students from the University of Nairobi School of Journalism to Nation for focus group discussions whenever Nation wanted to improve a product or bring a new one. So the youthful audience from campus would really come and.
But most of them usually came to NTV just to eat.
Yes, I mean, and visit the place, because we are journalism students. This is a place we'd want to work in after school. Yeah. So, and then I think when I was in 4th year, there's a program that takes place. It's a partnership between University of Nairobi and Nation Media Group, where University of Nairobi provides the platform, the physical platform. Then Nation Media Group provides the broadcast platform for discussing issues of national importance. And so there's this fateful day.
We were doing that program was called
Nation Leadership Forum.
Yes, Nation Leadership Forum. Yes. I remember.
Yes. So I would take students to the tower for that event. And then there's this fateful day when Trevor Mbija is now
a
a citizen. Trevor was at Nation, was at Nation TV, NTV then. So Trevor was the host that particular day, and I was in the auditorium. And then this is how Trevor introduced before he started moderating, this is how he introduced himself. Hello Kenyans, how are you doing? My name is Trevor Mbija. I am your host today. And today I'm back at home. This is where I pursued my journalism career. This is where I was a student at the School of Journalism here at the University of Nairobi. So where I was sitting, that thing hit me like a wrecking ball. Like, man, Trevor was here as a student. He's hosting a national show basically hosting a show on national TV, and I was so motivated, and I felt like this is what I need to do even for me in a few years when I'm done with campus. So after the end of the event, and because I'd growing up, I always wanted to join Nation. So I knew the CEO, the managing director for Deal Nation, for NTV, broadcast division, and all these other journalists. So after the event, I saw the CEO walk into the washroom at the tower. Mr. Gitagama, my friend. I'm also proud to call him the CEO. My friend, Mr. Steve Gitagama. So he walked in the washroom at the tower on the 5th floor. And then I followed him. I said, I want to grab this opportunity. So I followed Gitagama into the washroom. And when I got there, he was at the urinals. So I went to the sink because I knew he'd come and wash his hands there. So when Gitagama comes, I'm
You are
like,
very strategic.
hey, Mr. Steve, how you doing? My name is Dickens Ngicho. I'm a journalism student here and the president of the School of Journalism Students. Body.
Hold
So,
on. What about the security? You mean like he didn't have the security that time he was going to the
See at
washroom?
the tower,
Yeah.
the
Because
tower,
it was like
it's a
kind of
very
the VIP
executive
end.
place.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
It's a
was
very-
the VIP end. Yeah.
You see, when Ruto is at State House, when he's seated somewhere talking with other dignitaries, seated, his ADC is not behind him there. He just sits somewhere, okay?
Yeah.
So it's the University of Nairobi's auditorium at the is a very executive place.
Yeah, sure.
So everybody just walks and, nobody is behind them. So I introduce myself when he comes to the sink area to wash his hand. I'm like, hi, Mr. Gitagama. My name is Dickens Ngicho. I'm a journalism student here at the University of Nairobi and the student leader. I have been volunteering for Nation since I was a first year. I am passionate about humanitarian journalism, and this is what I want to do because my life has been touched by several people, some relatives, some non-relatives, and I want to give back by getting a platform to also tell stories that would also change lives. This is how I've been volunteering for Nation NTV. I've been bringing students for focus group discussions whenever the Nation wants to bring a new product or improve on the ones that are there, and also bringing students to be as audience for most of your shows. And I've also been mentored by some of your journalists. So I want to be inside there, and most of my lecturers here paid my school fees, and several people helped me while in campus. And I want to give back. Most of my lecturers have always told me that I go and practice what they've taught me. So I want to get to the newsroom and practice this and change lives. So I told him a lot of things, but it was an elevator speech for about 3 minutes.
You're done.
I'm done. So Mr. Gitagama holds my hand and we leave the washroom. So outside the washroom, Mr. Francis Munyoki was the managing director for Nation newspapers division. Gitagama tells Munyoki, hebu sikiza huyo kijana. So I also talked to Munyoki, just an elevator speech. The same thing. He wasn't there in the washroom, so I just repeat. It was easy. Then Munyoki asked me for my phone. He saves his number, tells me, come to Nation on Tuesday. This was Monday, so the following week's Tuesday.
Did you sleep, bro?
I didn't sleep. But let me tell you, this was different. I'd met several people who had promised a lot, but I just felt this was different.
Yeah.
So on that particular Tuesday, I'm on my way to Nation Center. So when I get to City Stadium, I'm in the mat. Mr. Munyoki, the MD, he tells me, we are going for a meeting, but I have talked to the HR. Man, Nation Media Group HR, that's what every journalism student in Kenya wants to meet. Madam Jane Mururi. So I get to the office. It's around 4. I was supposed to be at school, but I didn't go to class. So I get to Nation Center. It's around 4. I get to the entrance, and the guards tell me it's late. I don't think you will be able to see the HR. But then they call the HR because I told them the MD had already talked to the HR. So Madam Jen, our HR asked me so many positive questions though about my mom, and I remember breaking down, and she told me, this is a good mother, she's taking care of you, and now just before I left, she told me, I'm a mother, and you are like my son. I'll give you fare back home. So the HR gives me 1,000 bob from the CBD Nation Center to that day. My journey from Nation Center to Donholm would cost 1,000 bob, where it's just 50 or 60 bob. So I rushed back to school. Actually, I had not gone. So I go to school, campus, and talk and share this with, and I think I first called my mom, my foster mom. My mom, I don't want to call her my foster mom. I called my mom and she told me, and I shared with her the good news about meeting Nation Media Group HR. And then I told her, what do you want me to bring you? She's giving me 1,000 bob. I'd bring you anything for all this much. Then my mom tells me, you let her 2 fruits. Just bring me fruits. Then I walked to campus and shared this with with Moses, who was working at the students registry at the school of Janzo Miwan. He was also so happy. So that was my entry point that's how I entered Nation. That's how I entered Nation. And it's been almost
because
3 years.
I remember the first time they gave you the contract.
Yes.
We came. I was going. I think I was leaving the university, and then you were coming. You had this, and you showed me, and you were super excited.
Yes. And you know what I also came to do? Because my tag, that tag, that company tag, the access card that helps you enter into the office, had just been given. So I set up some afternoon to go to campus and knock every lecturer's office. Every lecturer taught me, and I'd present this to them and tell them, thank you for the instructions in class, thank you for making my dream come true. The only person I didn't get that day was the director, I think.
Mr. Ndeti.
Mr. Ndeti. But I got Oranga, I got Oriaso, I got Polika Pochilo, I got Mwangi, I got Kitata, almost all our lecturers.
Yeah.
Then in the afternoon, I came to the head of Digital's office, Churchill, who's also been, I think now at Nation is now been the person who's also got me to this place. And then I went to the HR's office, Madam Jen Mwiruri, and then to the MD's office. The person I didn't get that day was also the MD, the CEO, whom I got after 3 weeks, and thanked him for the opportunity. Because I told him this tag is something I've been trying to pursue since I was in class 2. So yeah, I interned for about 10 months, and then Tuko poached me.
I remember that.
Nation was taking long to give me to employ me. But I was at Tuko for just
I remember that time. I think you produced like 2 stories for Tuko, right?
About 3.
Yeah.
I interviewed Steve Simple Boy.
Yeah.
I interviewed
Those days
when
very few people had interviewed Steve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I think I also went and did Vox Pop in
the streets.
Kibera.
Yeah.
Yes. Then there's also a lady who had lost about 7 kids. I interviewed her.
Oh, yeah. I remember that lady from Ruiru.
Yes, from those sides.
Yes.
I did about 4 stories.
I think I met her sometimes back.
You met the lady?
Yes, I met her sometimes back. Yeah.
Yes, so I think I did about 4 stories while I was at Tuko for 2 weeks. The Nation, one day we were having our editorial meeting at Tuko in Westlands. Mother calls me. Martha is one of our HR officers. She tells me, hey Dickens, your contracts are ready. Then the following day I go to sign. Then I ringa kidogo, tell them ongezeni kitu, because now najisikia Tuko had already point me, gave me from I was being paid 15,000 as an intern. Tuko wanted to pay me 50,000. So I wanted them to make it 100. Yeah. Then I went and just signed after 2 days.
Yeah.
So during the day I was at Tuko, the evening because I had not cleared that Nation. In the evening I would come back to my desk at Nation, and then I go home for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So and that particular month, I'm sorry, man, I earned 2 salaries. People paid me, and when I was going to sign my contract,
I remember after that you got that money, you took us out for lunch, I think.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
like where?
So when I was going to sign my contract, so Nation basically tried to act like they didn't know I had left. But I had not left because I had not cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tuko paid me.
And how is Nation so far?
Nation is
Are you enjoying? Are you having the best time of your life?
I am having the best time, but not as I would want, because I'm a passionate broadcast journalist. But I spend most of my time producing new stories. I want to go out there to the field, to locations, and cover stories from the locations. Not I don't want to produce somebody else's story that has come to the office.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, sometimes you may not know what the reporter saw that they didn't bring us to the office.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to go out there, interview people, and only cover stories that will change the society for the better.
Okay.
Yes.
That's great. One thing is, when you were in uni, you were very active in politics. is something you're thinking in the near future.
But let me tell you, Abraham. You know, politics, Bana. I don't think I was as active.
You were.
Politics.
Yeah, I remember because
I feared becoming a politician, but at your end.
yeah.
But you know, I was the class rep for the
you
4
were
years.
Class rep for all that
Then the
time.
organizing secretary, then became the chairman. Of the
Yeah,
chairman.
you see.
And you remember mine was I was appointed. It wasn't an election because the university had done away with.
No, when you were in first year, actually, we voted for you.
And do you know what happened? There's nobody who ran against me.
Because
So I went unopposed.
yeah.
It was an elected
Then the
seat.
secretary general thing, I think
Now-
you were elected.
Now,
Because I remember
that's
like
the
you were in the
organizing
same,
secretary.
you were in the same group with Kina Munyao and stuff.
Yes.
With Nyandusi.
Now I was on the side which was being led by Kayesu.
Yeah, actually,
But
you're
now
the
I'm
only person.
I'm the only person.
Yeah, and I remember as we were in a different camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Akina Chasoleros group. You know, which was headed by Waita.
Waita. Yeah.
So I served in Waita's administration as the only person from Kayesu's side.
You are the
Yeah.
minority side.
So I feared politics. I always never wanted to hate or be hated. That's why even when I was serving as the chairman, I was just appointed by the director, and the lecturers recommended. But politics.
Actually, that time, the you remember after the Babuino fracas with Jacob Juma? No, this guy
Was it
Jacob.
Not Juma.
He was this guy was
Jacob.
somebody Jacob.
Yes.
You remember that fracas, and then they went to parliament. They changed the law, the bylaws for universities about elections. So now they made them to be kind of very appointive and stuff.
Yes.
It wasn't like the way we used to vote, chaos and stuff.
Yes. So that's when I got appointed.
I think that's.
And I served for 2 terms.
In fact, you served for more than 2 terms.
More than 2. I'm still serving. The School of Johnson University of Nairobi has not gotten not even a substantive. There's none.
Because
and students still ask me for information about a unit, a lecturer. I graduated in 2019 and they still do. So
yeah, because I see the same thing in a group and I'm like, okay, we still have a chair here.
Yeah, so it's been a journey. I've enjoyed. But I want to work in CNN.
Stephen Harvey.
It have my show in LA or Chicago or Houston or New York.
Yeah. And you always okay. By the way, there's one question that I have to ask you because most people want to know. Uko soko ama ulitoka soko?
No, I have someone.
Sorry, ladies.
I have someone. Almost doing this, eh?
Yeah. Wait. When?
No. But we'll talk about that in the next interview.
Niko kwa line.
In the next interview. Yeah, I have somebody who loves me so much. I love her so much. Yeah.
So something is cooking.
Something
That's
is
what
cooking.
you're trying to
yes,
say.
Something is cooking.
Yeah.
Yes.
So looking into the future.
Looking to the future, I want to stop my desktop journalism, what I've been doing for the better part of the 3 years that I've been at Nation. I want to go out and cover stories. We just interviewed Willie Sotieno, the Piki Ponky lawyer.
Yeah.
And it was an interview I enjoyed. We were together, if you remember.
Yeah, it was
And
awesome.
I want to have a lot of such conversations. Because when you go to the comment section of the story online, you'll see people are like, hey, Kumbe Willis has been there.
Yeah.
He didn't just, come up the other day.
Yeah.
So, and he's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, especially his conversation about the youth,
Yeah,
the
the
economy.
youth,
I wish people could have had the background, information before they shoot.
Yes.
Yeah, it was eye-opening.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I want to do a lot of that. There's a guy, I covered this story 3 times, was in school in primary school for 22 years.
Oh yeah,
9
I remember
KCP
him,
attempts. And he attended 4 national schools. He had a lot of fee problems.
Yeah.
He graduated last year, I think, or early this year.
No, it was last year, I think.
He graduated
Yeah,
last year, July.
Yeah, and then the whole of this year, people were just doing his stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all he was doing all this to have a better future. It took so long for him to get employed, but Communication
how is he,
Authority
by
just
the-
employed him.
Yeah. The what?
Communication Authority just employed him. He
Oh.
reported on third.
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm so happy. Those are the stories I want to
Yeah,
do, man.
yeah.
Wow, I was
At
so happy.
least you made a difference.
I,
in
I,
someone's
I
life.
was sobbing in the newsroom. I was so happy. I was just crying when he told me about this news.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do, man.
That's
Yes.
great, man.
Yes.
So probably for those youth who are going through the same thing that you went through, they are hopeless right now. And considering this is a mental awareness month,
yes.
so many people are going through and they're just feeling like, you know what? I think I have no purpose. Like I need to end my life, or probably because things are not working, and
Yes.
especially the economy is very tough. What can you tell them?
What I want to tell somebody like that is have a focus, have a dream, get to know what you want to pursue. But in all that, get a mentor or somebody with to whom you can confide. And don't wait for what you want to do. Don't wait for the time to come for you to do what you've always wanted to do. Start doing whatever you can do. Okay? If you're a journalism student, start getting to get a contact of one of the journalists you look up to, and be straight to the point and ask them what you want them, how you want them to mentor you. Start the most important thing is start positioning yourself as early as possible. And I'm sure you have an uncle or an aunt. I'm sure you just have that one uncle or aunt who can also hold your hand. You can always be with them, and they can share with you, open your mind and your outlook about life, and basically what you can do to help yourself at that particular point before what you want to do comes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming to the program. Na uambie mafans wa NTV wa subscribe.
Kabisa. I'm going to tell them to subscribe to your YouTube channel. It's called, is it just Abraham?
No, The Daily Whistle.
The Daily Whistle. You even have a website.
Yes, we have a website.
Yes. So you can also write a print story about this and
Yes,
then
sure,
embed
yeah.
the story. Yes.
Sasa angalia kwa kamera uambie vizuri.
So guys, Daily Whistle fans and supporters, and those who are my supporters and fans, and those who have goodwill for the development and growth of youth, just head to Daily Whistle on YouTube channel and subscribe. It won't hurt. You'll just be helping somebody to grow the YouTube channel. Thank you so much.
Asante sana ndugu. Thank you very
Asante
much for
sana.
coming. Asante.
Okay.